Okay, so welcome to another exploration of consciousness with Earth Nouveau. And people, warrior people, I've counted them. This is our 58th show.
Wow.
So we started in April last year, and we have not missed 1 week other than over Christmas, which is normal. But we've powered through like true warriors. So it's going to be really fun to explore that topic. So thank you, Matty, because when I saw this this morning on Facebook, I thought, there's a topic there for us, right? We can all have something to say about that, right? Fantastic. So let's get started. And what I was thinking, you've seen the questions if you are a member of the Earth Nouveau on Facebook. Let's look at the past. And I don't know, did anyone watch that YouTube? Did you guys watch it? Yeah. Sorry, I just got to admit, Shoba is coming in. Yeah, because it's quite interesting how, so we can talk a little bit about the past. What are the characteristics of a warrior, especially from the past times? And then how can we, sort of look at it from a present perspective and then also from a future perspective. So when we look at, when I looked at that YouTube, of course, what really came through, I have a warrior energy like that. Okay, so that's the first question here. Who can identify with having a warrior energy?
Oh God, yeah. God, yeah.
Totally.
So let's kick it off with that question. What does that actually mean? What does that look like? When you say you have a warrior energy, what does that actually mean to you?
Courage.
Courage, yes.
Aggression.
Yeah.
Aggression.
And for me, it's
willing to make a stand. Sorry.
No, go on. I've had my say. Go on.
Willing to make a stand. To stand your ground and hold your boundaries.
Make a stand, boundaries. Mm-hmm.
I like the word fierce.
Fierceness.
Yeah.
Yes. Fierce warrior.
When I think of a warrior, I think of justice.
Justice, yeah.
Fairness. So if I don't see that, then I tend to want to challenge whatever is in front of me. So that's one of my thoughts about it.
Mm-hmm.
Commitment needs commitment too.
Yeah, commitment, determination, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Integrity and dignity.
What is that?
Strength and intelligence as well, definitely.
Integrity.
Integrity, intelligence.
Alona and fairness.
That's interesting, the loner. Okay.
I think defender, especially in the old paradigm, like defending anything.
Mm-hmm. So let's take all of that. Has everybody had their say? Bravery, that's coming through as well. Bravery from the old days in particular. We don't talk so much about being brave anymore, right?
No.
Maybe it's the word courage that what we're using more for that. But anyway, so all of that, let's just take all of that and just destroy and uncreate all of that. This is a nice way of just getting rid of all those definitions.
Yeah.
And then just see what else is there. What else is there when we think about warrior? And then also, look at it from a perspective, warrior versus warrior. Am I saying correctly? The worrying warrior, that type of stuff.
Well, for me, a warrior is in the present, very much in the present moment. Warrior. Whereas warrior is something you're doing in the future.
So
And that's all about trust.
So a warrior could be a warrior in the future. Continuously looking into the future. It's a bit that fear thing, isn't it? Looking into the future, not being present, and then actually not being really able. If we continue worrying, we are not able to actually step into our, courage and fierceness and fairness and commitment and determination and all of that.
A warrior learns to channel their fear into positive, constructive aggression.
Ooh.
So this word aggression is interesting because, I mean, that is obviously a word that very much applies to the old paradigm warrior, right? A lot of blood, a lot of aggression, a lot of, you could almost call it murder.
Violence. There's on the hero's journey, there's always moments of violence, always.
That's what, in that YouTube that they're using Mahatma Gandhi as an example, and they call him the bloodless warrior. And that's not even true, because how many people died throughout his, attempts to change the world and everything. So you're absolutely right, Matty. I mean, that's the thing. There's always that, and they were mentioning a lot of resistance, going against, the resistance and everything, which is a form of aggression at the same time, So how has it changed? How have the warriors, and there's one thing that stood out for me, which because they were very physical, right? There was a lot of physical fighting going on. And they also mentioned in the YouTube that they had unique fighting styles, right? Like this, I think the samurais, this one guy, I can't remember his name, just fighting with 2 swords. Or then we know with Bruce Lee and, having very specific ways of fighting and stuff like that. And I thought that applies to the modern day warrior as well, right? Having a unique style. And this is very much the teaching and the self-mastery. What we're doing is finding your unique style.
Martina, have you ever watched UFC?
What's that?
Have you ever watched UFC? The Ultimate Fighting Championship.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You see, in our modern world, fighting, the actual art of combat itself has become something incredible. It's not like people that learn one skill or one technique. Like Bruce Lee said that the best technique is no technique, shapeless and formless like water. And but that's what we've got to now. Some of these modern combatant sports like UFC, you have to master everything, the stand-up game, the ground and pound, the clinches, absolutely everything in order to just stand a chance. And that's kind of metaphorically what we are as spiritual warriors. You have to have had a good couple of fights. You have to have experienced, and I don't mean that literally, it could be metaphorically, you have to experience that combat, that fear and the unknown before you can even step on your hero's journey.
So are you saying that before we can actually develop our uniqueness, our unique style, you've got
to take a hit, you've got to take a slap?
Yeah. And I mean, I can't speak for you guys, but anyone on this Zoom, I would assume that we've had quite a few lifetimes of fucking
Pounding
and taking hits and pulling them out there and also delivering them quite a bit. There's many warrior lifetimes I can remember, where I've been the bad guy and, took it on as well and stuff like that. Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, Martina, can I just ask, somebody like stirring tea with a teaspoon? Because is anyone else getting that sound? Like China being hit with a teaspoon?
Yeah, just mute yourself.
It's not me. I was going to say it's not me, so I just wondered. That's it there. Okay.
Okay, so anyone who makes a noise, just mute yourself unless you're talking. We got Andrea has her hand up. So Andrea, do you want to say something to that, what we just said?
Hi guys. Yes. I don't know if you're familiar with, but I'm pretty sure most of you are, with the haka. You know that warrior stand, the pose. I've learned haka from my teacher who taught me alchemy of the body, and with that energy, I actually was able to without any words, without any movement, without any aggression or push or whatever. I moved a rugby guy into the bushes, and I said nothing to him, nothing, because I wanted to show him the energy, and he just kept going backwards. And with the warrior, I'm privileged to, within the last few weeks, to have met real warriors. And their focus, it's a focus. It's not even, of course they are muscly and everything, but it's your focus, it's your mind. It's like your mind has to be totally empty in order to accomplish what your target is, if you will. So yes, Martin was saying, like, they were fighting with swords, or these, I don't know what you call them technically, but in order to, I think, be a good warrior in these days, people would like to without conflict. They'd like to accomplish something without conflict, but if it comes to conflict, then you have to be totally focused. And I posted something about yesterday about this Shaolin little baby. He was 3 years old when he went to China to join this Shaolin martial art center, and his parents took him there, and then he was saying in Chinese his experiences, and he was saying that, oh, he learned to be around the people, he learned to make his bed, he learned to make his food, he learned discipline. So it's like all the focus, and he was saying with his little expressions his experiences. And his teachers, they said, oh, he's tried it once or twice or 3 times, and then he kept going and going because of that willingness to be just in that mind, just in that focus. And that means when you focus on that, everything else will disappear, because all you do is to focus on that. And then obviously you be in that present moment, because there is nothing else. So he was like, oh my God, he was just so cute. If you didn't see it, I posted about it, so have a look. But he was just so cute. And the discipline, I'd say, is a discipline totally. But I don't think they're teaching them there to, as in, to fight the enemy, if you will, but just for discipline and focus and determination. And that's what I got from the people I met as well, is that, like, that energy that you give out. And I can give haka treatments, and for me the most powerful treatment for the body is gratitude. When I put my hand and I channel that energy on the client, the gratitude, or whoever in the world, it totally moves. And I had another experience, but that with earth, it started to move. What's the right word? Abundance, or started to stir up stuff in the earth. Therefore, people, I don't know, got enlightened or inspired, or issues were resolved and things like that. So I do a lot of stuff like that, but I don't want to talk about that now. But I would say discipline, focus, and resolve everything with no conflicts, and resolve everything. Just see even if in your enemies, see their love, because everybody is. I mean, nobody is perfect, of course, but everybody. I see everybody with the eyes of God, with the eyes of divinity, with the eyes of love. Even if I don't like them, that's how I have to see them, because whatever I see in them, it's in me. And it's just the way it is. And I send love and peace to everybody, and it's possible. It is possible.
It's not going to do much if I punch you in the face, though, is it?
It is. I guarantee you, it is. Oh yeah.
So,
oh yeah.
Okay, so thank you, Andrea. You mentioned a couple of things here. You've already led us to the next level into the warrior of the 21st century. And then we have to keep coming back to what Matthew is saying, of course, as well. But so I was actually, there's one thing here. I've got the myth of the asanas. As a yoga teacher, you go and you find all sorts of little stories at times. And the warrior poses, there are 3 warrior poses, the Virabhadrasana. And the story is, this is just a myth here, the love story between Shiva and Shakti. And Shakti had a mortal father in one of those lifetimes, they talk about that story. And Shiva, and he didn't like Shiva very much. So Shiva got enraged about all of that, and he beheaded Shakti's dad. And then it all started going haywire, and Shakti said, no, you have to sort it back out again, and all sorts of things. So anyway, so Shiva sent down from the heavens the Virabhadra, the warrior, and that's where the 3 poses are coming from, to then put the head back on and all of that. But long story short here, what one of the Yoga Sutras here is actually saying, in order to preserve an elevated state of mind, be happy for those who are happy, cultivate compassion for those who are sad, feel delight for those deemed to be lucky, virtuous, or righteous, and experience indifference towards those perceived to be wicked. Okay, so this is the warrior, probably, as far as I'm concerned. We are heading towards having done the self-mastery, having done, the sovereignty and everything. But I want to add to this, though, too, is I don't think that as long as we are in this human body, we will have that emotion of aggression, that emotion of resistance, and all of that coming in. And the warrior, probably for me, of the 21st century is that person that can acknowledge that within themselves, and then maybe choose something different other than aggression. And again, I think it's practice. It's very much practice, because we have it all within ourselves. And I think the worst we can do as a true warrior is to say, we're just compassionate and we're just loving and all of that, and we don't have the shadow side, because we have it, and it keeps coming through. It definitely keeps coming through all the time, So warrior poses, and I'm finished with this in a minute, are a reminder that ferocity, I like ferocity or fierceness, I think somebody said, ferocity exists not only to destroy, but also to allow us sufficient strength to achieve integrity, compassion, and a loving state of mind.
I'd like to add something, Martina.
Please.
Because what I found in my own journey is that whenever I've had a situation that is a combatant situation, this is why I call myself a warrior, because it's like exactly what Andrea was talking about. The mind falls away. You're completely embodied. And it's like whenever I've been in a situation like that, it's been, bang, 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 quick, whatever happens. And then next thing you know, it's over. And then you think about it. it's like the body instantly knows what to do, and your body can do the most incredible like reactions, just super quick reactions, you know, that you're not even sure where they come from. You know, we have this ability. It's about conquering the fear, channeling the fear, because you can see people out there who look like they could really handle themselves very well in any kind of situation, but yet when the situation arises, you can see them crumble. And there are people out there like that, people that will, you know, give in at the first sign of a fight. It's surprising how many people are like that, actually. And I think we can relay this to our spirituality as well. But interestingly enough, I have found that where it comes to multidimensional living, if you act in aggression, you come unstuck. You know, so there's many times where I have done something that's done in a neutral perspective, exactly like Andrea was saying, and somebody has attacked me, but the attack can't go through. But if I were to then attack them back, I would open myself up to that particular type of conversation and may not come off too well.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I completely am aware of that energy, and I don't call it aggression. It's not the word I use. I call it intensity, and it's very sometimes required to have that intensity. And just like what Andrea said as well with the haka, you know, which is a New Zealand technique, if anyone wants to check that out. You use that intensity. It's an intensity. If you want to call it aggression, but it's a slightly different energy. It's an intensity. You don't fuck with me. And right. Sometimes you don't even have to say anything. You don't have to be violent, obviously, but you just be that energy. Right?
That's right. And the most attacks that I've felt have come from talking about multidimensionality here now, like reptilian races, species like that. And they do attack you, and it is aggression. You know, it's straight up aggression. It's none of this airy fairy stuff, you know. And but I found that as long as I don't fight them back, and whatever I do is in neutrality, there's not a lot they can do. I could, you know, one can easily shut down a collective, even a strong collective like that, just with the sacred neutral perspective and without fear. The moment you get afraid, things change a little bit.
Absolutely. I think it's the level of awareness that you're at when you have a choice at all times and you know what to choose. Sometimes you can just be a sacred neutral, walk away. Sometimes you have to fucking show them the finger. Sometimes you have to be kind, be charming. You know, this is the level of awareness where you have all the emotions available again. And it's because this is so important to say that, you know, with the more we expand our awareness, it doesn't mean that the emotions go. No, they're all there, but they become tools. And it's no longer just a reaction. It's a very much an action, a very, I wouldn't say it doesn't come, as you say, it doesn't come from the thought process even, but it comes from, you could say it comes from the heart. You can have a very intense action, you know, be that now through words, through or not, coming from the heart, if that is what is required.
That's right. And that's what I was talking about with the combat situation, when all of a sudden it's like you enter into it fully embodied, especially if it's an attacker, and then you think about it afterwards. Not so for professional sports and boxers and things like that, but that was my experience, you know. Yeah. And that's the same for the spiritual side of things. If the body, mind, spirit complex is, you know, trained through self-mastery, then in any given situation, you don't have to think about it. It really just, whatever needs to happen, body, mind, spirit, it happens. And then afterwards you can reflect.
Well, that talking about, Matty, for me is superluminal thinking. I know it's no thought, but it's superluminal, isn't it? Which means it's up there, it's accessible straight away. You don't have to think about it, other than like thinking. And it's only
like
when
you're a master of time. Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry.
When you're when you're in that situation, superluminal thinking is available to you, isn't it? Because it's directly from the celestial source. So that is why you're able, like Bruce Lee, to just do the movements or make the decisions without the thought.
In no time.
And before Alfredo, I'll take you in a second. Let me just add one thing to this one. There is a physical element to that one too. Yeah. Where, you know, when you look at all those masters, those warriors from the past, or even now, you know, there is a strategy behind it, and there is a practice behind it. Because the more you practice the moves, it's the same like in anything you guys practice, be that now squash or yoga or anything else, or Tai Chi, Aikido, that's when it then becomes automatic. There is a practice element in this, which is required. So as much as when we talk about self-mastery, we cannot leave the body behind. There's a physical element very much behind that. So Alfredo, and then Shoba.
Hello.
Hi.
Can y'all hear me pretty good?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so I was just wanted to add that because I know like you talk about like warrior and like the physical aspects, but I always view it like the energetic aspects, because I got like a little story if y'all want to hear. But I was take my kid out, you know, walk around the apartment complex with my dog, and he was exploring around, and he got to like a top of a complex a little bit further down, and we were just, you know, exploring a little bit, and we came across this like dog, like eyes bulging out, like super intense, and it was like a little like a wiener dog. But anyways, he like rushed at us immediately, started barking at me and my kid, and it was like super intense. And then right behind the dog, like this lady, this bigger lady, she said, "What the fuck are you doing? Get the fuck out!" She was like yelling at me immediately, and I was super calm, and I was trying to like process everything that was happening so quick, and it was like, thankfully I was present in the moment. And usually I'm not a person that wants to like energetically like attack people, but this just came at me like instantly, like instantaneous, and I didn't even think about it. And like immediately, like when all this stuff was happening, like I didn't even think about it. I was like, "That's your dog right there," and I'm getting my fucking kid. I was just like, I didn't even think about it, but everything happened so quickly, and like I thought about it afterwards. I was wondering like, what happened? Like, what exactly happened? Like, I know that, I don't know, it just came out of me like some like ferocity just like burst out of me immediately without even thinking about it. Like I didn't feel like I was like, I know, I don't know, just sometimes I feel like I got triggered and like, you know, energy drain, or like triggered, like I feel like I had to do an energetic reverberation of whatever was coming at me, you know, like I don't know, to me it was like a warrior moment, because I had to like stand my ground immediately in that moment, because everything intense was coming at me at that moment. It's like had to like immediately go at it, you know, like I don't know, to me that was like a warrior moment. I don't know how I felt right about it though. Like, and
So,
then the lady afterwards, she got like calmed down and relaxed, like whatever happened. It was yeah, I just wanted to share that story because I felt like it was relevant to the conversation.
Well, it certainly is. And let me ask you a question on it.
Yeah.
You know, you were the dad there and that was your son, right? Now,
Yeah.
let's look at that. How does the warrior potency come through when you're standing up for somebody from a protective perspective, right?
Yeah.
How would you just look at it for yourself now? Would you have reacted differently if your son wouldn't have been with you?
I think so, yeah, because it brought out a part of me that I never knew existed. Like, I mean, I know I get fierce at people, but like with my kid there, it was like a totally different aspect of myself I hadn't really seen. So yeah, I feel like I probably would have reacted differently if my son wasn't there, because he was distant from me and I wanted to get to him, but this lady was coming at me and she was like the separation point between me and my son. And so yeah, I feel like the dad aspects just came out of me just immediately, instantaneously, without even thinking, because I was super calm before this thing even happened. Like I know I was present, you know, but I feel like the dad aspect came out of me.
So I'd like to invite you to look at two energies here. The one is choice. We always talk about choice because that's something we have to practice. And then there's another energy that is necessity. And necessity sometimes can overpower our choices because necessity can somehow be slightly touched by a judgment. So when I look at Alfredo's story now, was it a necessity? I would say yes, because he was protecting his son, right? But was it a choice at the same time? Yes. So
Yeah.
in your story, and thanks for bringing it up, because for me, there's no difference between necessity and choice. You had to choose it because it was necessary. But why I mention that is sometimes as warriors, okay, we do stand up for other people, and God, have I done this, yeah, for so much and often in my life. And I thought I was right. I was right. But was I right or was I righteous? Was I doing it? Was the warrior energy coming through, that amazing strength, that amazing power that we have, that focus? Was it because I lacked that support in this lifetime from other people and I overdid it? That's an invitation to look at. When is the warrior the real true choice warrior? And when is it actually still coming from a wounded place? Think of that and see what that brings up. And Shoba, you're next.
Wow, incredibly powerful what you're saying. Can you hear me, guys?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, what I'm coming up with here is there's an unpacking and a purity of energy that comes through that gives you the optimal choices. And the experience I have with this is very much working with the aggressive dogs, because you can't be aggressive because you provoke aggression. But there's a point, and you can do it with a look or a sound, but it's like that purity of energy. In that moment, they know that their aggression is absolutely matched with your energetic, but you're not going to do anything aggressive. But you're going to maintain that position. And there's such a purity in that moment because it's just energy. And the most important thing I've learned with that, you have to give space because the choices and options are there. So you don't want to put anyone in a corner. And this I can only say with dogs. I've obviously never done with this with a human. But you set it up so that there's a choice to be able to move away. And when you're that pure and that clean in your energy, the dog will move away. And it's I have to say, in a way, I feel gifted to have those experiences because you can actually use that energy and feel it. And it's so pure. Because it's like in that moment, you have to move with it. You might even have to move your body a little bit because you're not backing any animal into a corner. You're giving them the space, but you're making it clear. No. And thank you for this conversation. It's incredible.
Thank you. Thank you. You said something really very cool just now. Did you hear her say matching the energy? Very, very cool. Whatever it is, matching the energy at times with that intensity. And this doesn't, when you said, Shoba, just matching the energy now it's not like starting to get wacky like somebody else. It's matching the intensity of that energy, but not the action itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, the question here then comes up is, because that's almost like conflict resolution, dealing with conflict, right? Mm-hmm. So who here has a problem with conflict? Who says, I don't do conflict? Mm-hmm. Good. Let's look at that.
Great.
Because that's already an interesting thing. How can we be warriors, right? Matching intensities whenever it is required through choice, right? If we are not willing to do certain things, it's a little bit like not being willing to fail, right? So let's look at the conflict. Being willing to create conflict, to participate in conflict, to even stir it up, yeah? If and when it is required. What is that? Why is not a good question, but what does it take for us to be willing to do conflict, whatever that looks like?
That's the smart part of it, Martina. That's where physicality, you know, is just one part of any form of resolution or conflict. That's where the smart starts to come in. You know, I've got so many stories, just to tell so many. There was one occasion quite recently where a young boy, I saw him walking down the road with a baseball bat in hand, very agitated. This was only a couple of weeks ago. And I thought, I'm going to follow him wherever he goes, you know, just stay behind, follow him and see what he's doing with that, because he was angry. And he went straight into a little kid's playground and was going to hit some little children in this playground. I'd never seen anything like it. And I put down my bags and I was going to hit him, you know, and luckily for me, there was an off-duty police officer pushing his daughter on the swing, and he ran past me because he could see what was about to happen and stop this from happening. There's been other times where, remember there was a time where we was in bed and when my wife was a student, and all of a sudden this noise started and we ran downstairs all aggressive because someone was fighting, and there was the biggest man I've ever seen in my life drunk in the house, beating the crap out of one of these kids in this shared house. And in that moment, I knew that I'd get my ass handed to me instantly. You know, we all would. And so it was, everyone else ran away. And it was up to me to kind of take this drunk guy and lead him to the front door gently without getting hit by him, put him out and shut the door and locking it.
Yeah.
You know, that was a warrior move in my part. You know, it would have been really foolish of me to start hitting him, you know, because then it would have escalated beyond any of my control.
Absolutely. Oh, that's such a nice story to see the difference, you know, like a true warrior comes from a place of choice, know what they're doing. It's not just, oh my God, somebody's aggressive and that's why I'm going to hit him now. Absolutely. You guys have all still your hands up. Is that because you want to say some more? Don't confuse.
Yes, I would like to, if I may.
Please do.
Right. What Martina was asking, the question with regards to the conflict. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Yes. And Matty was asking earlier, you know, when you go to the multidimensional and everything. So I've recorded something which you can all view later if you want to. Haven't made it live yet, but it's to do with being selfish. It's to do with being selfish, and sometimes people say, "Oh, you're selfish." For me, being selfish is self-care. So, in order to prevent these events, I believe that we can do that. These conflicts. Oh, nobody likes conflicts, so I don't know many people who do. Some people might. Oh, actually, we don't know. I don't know. And what I was talking about is being self-care. Is that you take care of yourself. As long as you take care of yourself mentally, physically, spiritually, but totally commit to yourself at every level, at every area, then you will not have these conflicts because you will be always in the moment. And for Matty, like what he was saying, I think he had a question earlier about what about the multidimensional? You can do that there too. I did it in physical. I had people there, right, physically with me. They haven't touched me because of this self-care. I'm feeling very strong, very grounded, and you can all do this. We can all do this if we just do self-care. And if people said you are selfish, then that's just tough noogies, take care of the self. And if you take care of the self, everything else will be just in the flow. You don't even have to think of anything, as long as you take care of yourself, whether it's at every level. And then when you do that, you just watch the miracles happening around you. And a lot of people, even now, they're stuck because they're not looking after themselves at every level. So they cannot transcend, they cannot ascend, it's impossible, no way. So there are tools that you can use to take care of yourself.
Andrea, I'm going to add this to the characteristics of the modern day warrior self-care. Yeah. So thanks.
Yeah, self-care, but also you can do that physically. I'm doing it physically with my physical things.
So
but
with everything.
And also the lady Shibono, who said that the energy is like, I met this lady, she had a dog, and obviously the dog, she was holding the dog was aggressive, and I could see how she is holding the dog, and she was like, oh, my dog is not don't worry. And I said, I'm not worried. I said, it's not a dog, it's you. And then I did something in me, I did the clearing in me. She relaxed her hand and the dog was fine. It's got nothing to do with the dog. It's just like Cesar Millan saying, being in the present moment. You don't know, just be in the present moment.
Yeah, there's a lot of that with our animals, isn't it? And we think, why are they misbehaving? And they're just really taking on all the
cats, with dogs, with horses, chickens, everything.
Baggage of the owners. Okay, well, thank you for that. I want to go back to the conflict, because we had a few hands up. People don't want to do conflict. And it would be quite nice to look at that. Where does that come from? How can we change that? Because remember, everything that we're not willing to be, do, have, receive takes us out of choice. Okay? True choice. We only have true choice when we are willing to receive everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, the sad. So where does anyone want to come up with that? What comes up when we say, I'm not willing to do conflict? Laura.
I'm putting my hand up for Susan because her hand won't come up.
Oh,
so
okay. Okay, Suzanne.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes. No, we can't hear you. You're still muted. Yes. Now.
Oh, apologies. It's a new to me computer, so I can get onto Zoom properly. But for some reason I can't see where to put my hand up. I think it was a point that ties into it all, really. And it was about, I remember when I was studying archetypes of the chakras, and Ambiko Waters did some work on archetypes of the chakras. So it was the unhealed aspect of the chakra and the power base of the chakra. So for example, the sacrum was the victim in its unexpressed power. And then it moved into the empress or the emperor when you knew who you were and what you're about. So I thought it was really interesting about the solar plexus energy on the issue of the warrior as well when we came into the call. Because her take on it was that the solar plexus, before we can fully move into the heart and be empowered, even to be loving truly other people, and in that sense of outside of oneself. And she said that the unhealed aspect of the solar plexus was the servant to the person, but in the sense of, not in the sense of service, in the sense of servitude and giving your power away. And that the positive archetype of the solar plexus was the warrior. So we have to master that warrior energy before we can fully embrace the world and be in our power in the world. So I thought that was quite pertinent to the discussion.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
You know, that we need to integrate that for ourselves before we can then, you know, move into that part of space and be present with that in the world. So I thought that was interesting.
Well, that's definitely interesting. That I didn't even know that the positive archetype is actually called the warrior there.
Well,
I mean,
from her perspective, yeah.
That's really cool, because think about it, solar plexus is all about willpower, right? It's all about fire, your fire, you know, and everything. So it makes perfect sense from there.
But, you know, really, I would say if you're looking at where are we now, you know, even beyond the warrior, I would be saying we're fighting for sovereignty. You know, this personal sovereignty now, maybe even beyond the archetype of the warrior, or encapsulating all of those lessons in empowerment.
So what would be the archetype beyond the warrior?
Sovereign, I would say a sovereign, you know, a sovereign claim on self, really. I would say it is about sovereignty. And, you know, if you thought of a healthy solar plexus with a wonderful, bright, shiny, almost golden energy, you know, almost like a shield to self, you know, like you've counted your coop and you got your feathers.
In my inner and outer martial arts, Sue. Sorry. In my martial arts, inner and outer, the solar plexus plays a huge role, and even to the point where that's where I draw my energy from. So if I wanted to create like a pulse wave of energy, if there was something coming into my field in the unseen, and I wanted to remove it, then I can like suck energy up from my solar plexus and then push that energy out. And that knocks everything on its arse in the unseen within certain meters around me. But it's interesting because the solar plexus was also the first part of my body energetically I had to activate before any of this would start properly. So I completely agree with what you're saying.
Okay, so the solar plexus is right underneath the breastbone, right? It's a bit further up. The dreaming body is lower. It's in the sacrum, isn't it? It's more in the digestive system, right? Okay. But there's also, I think, there is a connection with the warrior energy and the dreaming energy, because that warrior sovereignty, we need to take into our dreaming, into the dream world.
The dream world is one place where I have unbridled violence. You know, it's one of the places where I can just get to just chop people to pieces and wake up not feeling bad about it. And it's insane, some of the violence that goes on in the dream world.
So this is interesting. What is that?
Many different types of realms. Sometimes I'll be in a realm where everything looks okay, but when I go to touch anybody, they back away from me. Then once they back away from me, I realize I'm in a hell realm and they don't want to touch me. And then I'll uncreate that hell realm. That's always a violent process.
So is that what you do? Is this part of your...
I smash them to pieces. I smash them to pieces completely, and the whole dream world.
Is that part of your purpose in the world?
Well, definitely, because, you know, it's part of being the I am dreaming being. You know, it's because I'm unified with my dream world. So the I am Matti of the now is able to be aware that it's dreaming. And once I wake up from the dream, then still have access to that dream world and do whatever I need to do from that point. You've heard Andrew do it, where he talks about you smash the dream world to pieces, put it into a Rubik's Cube, and then send it into the galactic central sun. It's that process.
Yeah.
There's always a more violent process at the beginning.
Okay. Interesting. So there definitely is a willingness to embrace conflict.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not afraid of it at all. I kind of enjoy it.
And in the dream world, for me, more conflict than in physical. Yeah. In the unseen, there's times I have more conflict, and like Matti, I'm going in sorting things out, and I actually feel very potent in my dreaming world, sometimes more than in the seen world.
So there you go. You're using conflict and aggression for resolution.
Yeah, I'm definitely better at standing my ground in the dream world than in the seen world. I think I show a little more compassion. I think in the seen world, in the unseen world, my dreaming body is that ain't going to happen. You know, I really do stand my ground, but that's fine. If that's what it needs to do the great work, that's great.
No judgments like we have. We always have judgments. We also have responsibilities, and also there are police around as well. You know, so in the dream world, sometimes we are the police, so it changes things.
Yes.
So is this because we are buying into the reality in the awake time and actually choose and actually act from necessity instead of choice, like what we're doing in dream time? We're just choosing whatever is required. And here, like we are being a bit more, because, you know, this is a good question. How many necessities are actually creating our actions and our non-actions?
With regards to the dream world, the scenario I was just talking about there, you know, my choice and my action and my responsibility was to understand that for whatever reason, I'm dreaming in places that are not beneficial for me, and I take the action to not do that. So, you know, if I have to make a certain prayer beforehand or clear out my dream worlds, and that works, that's okay. But if it doesn't, then I have to go to that next level. That's a necessity for me, because I cannot go to bed every night and go to hell realms. It's just unacceptable for me.
Could you choose not to go there?
I've tried it, but sometimes for some reason it has to happen.
What, are you collecting soul shards, or are you just beating the hell out of the hell realm?
No, I think sometimes it's a lot to do with alcohol or certain things like that. Choices in the scene. If I don't do my exercises, and as well, if I don't do my weightlifting and all that kind of stuff, then you know, the dream world can be affected.
Oh, very good.
I find if I'm not on my absolute top notch doing the healing in my physical world, then I definitely get some sort of a negative influence in the dream world.
Does anyone else have anything like that? Does that resonate with anyone? Yeah, Sue?
Yeah, it's just an interest. I don't know whether it's interesting that ties in or not, but I've only been to the hell realms once. As far as I'm concerned, I haven't sorted out my dreaming body. You know, I don't feel like I've mastered that one at all. Still think I'm on the busting of the sleep issues. But in this particular story, I had a partner, big guy, like a big guy, 25 stone, the big man we used to call him. He was a big guy. And there was energetically a lot of conflict, because it really wasn't a good match, and it really wasn't a healthy relationship for me. And it was interesting because he kept saying that I was bullying him in his sleep, in our sleep. He was saying that I had a dog that wouldn't let him anywhere near me. I wonder why. But he was accusing me of impacting on his sleep. So very, very foolishly, and once only this lifetime, before I went to sleep, I said, okay, I will let this person hold the space. And I made my light, sort of contained myself. I didn't think I was diminishing my light. I was just closing in, because I didn't want to be, you know, I didn't want to be a bully in his sleep and all the rest of it. And I was taken to the most extraordinary, frightening hell realm, which I've never named it, but thank you for that, Matty. And it was just even stuff that I've not seen in the worst horror movies getting played out in front of my eyes as I'm going through buildings and trying to get out. And fortunately for my psyche, I think I'd learned magnified healing a few months before. And I was running through these hell streets, and then I just seen magnified street, and I went, oh, that's my way out, you know, and I come out of it absolutely shook to the core. It was very, very disturbing. So that was me totally going, oh well, you know, I'll be in servitude to you then. I'll just like shut myself down and I don't want to be a bully. You know, which obviously was a very enlightening experience for me about that relationship, but also about energy and giving your power away like that. So, you know, it has been the case that some of my lessons and learnings have been how not to do the journey. So I'm not saying that I was particularly proud of that, but I did think it was quite pertinent, seeing as we talked about power, empowerment.
If you pull down your pants and bend over, someone will come up behind you.
Won't they?
No.
Won't they just? You know, so I'm fascinated when I hear the power of someone like Matty. Like, wow, you know, like true warrior on it. You know, I try to be clever and get manipulative and get myself out of those situations, having come across her nearly a few times around Liverpool. But yeah. So thanks, Matty, for being the powerhouse and calling it forward.
But they say, calm down, calm down.
Susan, can I ask, I missed some of that because of my connection. Were you being chased in that helm realm? Was there something after you?
So
or was it,
you're not,
was it,
you
Can't hear you.
You need to unmute, Sue. We can't hear you. No, we can't hear you.
I think, Laura, what she was saying was that when she said kind of that she didn't want to do that, she gave away part of her sovereignty to that particular man's dream world. But rather than being chased, I think she said it was just like, I don't know if anybody's ever done a Boga, but it's like that, where just everything around you is just hellish constantly.
Yeah, sorry about that. My cursor takes about 4 presses before it responds. Was that answer your question, Laura?
Yeah, I just wondered whether you were being chased, because I was going to say anything that happens like that, you can deal with when you wake up or the next day, because you do have, by universal law, you have the right to go after anything that's come after you in dream time. And you can make that statement the next day in ceremony or whatever, just the usual stuff. Just say, I've had to do it because I was being bricked into a morgue with lots of, you know, blood and everything, and not very nice at all. And it was something I probably shouldn't have got involved with in the scene world, trying to help somebody I wasn't ready to help. And then in the dream time, they came after me. But the next day, I sorted it all out in ceremony, you know, basically saying, you have no access to me now or in the future in dream world. You have no access to me. And you can make that statement, and you can be the warrior in the scene world then, if you're not being the warrior in the dream world, because for me, it took me completely by surprise and I was totally caught up in someone else's dreaming world. I've had quite a few experiences like that. And I've learned now how to deal with it in the scene world. So yes, I guess there's times where I am a better warrior in the scene world than the unseen.
And also, I think one could, you know, we always talk about creating an anima of yourself. You could create yourself a Dreamtime warrior, you know, and have that one, or just look at your precognitive workforce and say all the Dreamtime warriors come out, and you're gonna, you know, make sure that, you know, everything's gonna be safe and sound as you go into your Dreamtime, and start working with that hub a little bit, that hub of interconnectivity. Remind yourself of that, guys, because, you know, we've been super warriors, you know, in many lifetimes. And those guys are still hanging about, you know, we all have those shards, we all have those memories. So start using those, you know.
And it's interesting that before I really came into my power, what it was that shifted me was Andrew told me how to be violent. You know, he showed how to use violence in as spiritual violence. You know, if some being is coming into your energy field and they're stepping on your journey, you have the right to do something, you know. And it wasn't until I was actually brave enough and I'd come out of my light worker, airy fairy bullshit phase, everything's beautiful and I'm peaceful as Gandhi. It's not really the case, you know.
Yeah,
well, that's the grandma brick in it, isn't it? That's
Mhm.
his famous handbag with the brick in it, which is brilliant. And I've had to go out and do that walking through a public place at one time when things got so bad, and it works.
Yeah,
it works. Imaginary handbag.
That's a huge awareness and teaching, you know, to recognize that they're not just angels out there, you know, and as a multidimensional, you know, warrior and being that we all are, we have to have that willingness to be aware of all of that. And most of the times it's really just we don't want to be aware of it for whatever reason. Often it's, in my case, often it's been ignorance, because I, you know, never looked at it from that perspective, you know, before I started recognizing what multidimensionality actually means. But, you know, just like they say, what's happening on this timeline, it happens in all the other timelines and all the other areas, you know, above, as above, so below. Also, you know, that type of stuff anyway. Okay, Caro, we got your hand up.
I'm thinking now as you're speaking, I'm thinking, what does victory look like for me as a warrior, as a new world, fifth world of peace warrior? And I'm thinking, as you're talking about matching the intensity in the experiences, one experience I can think of, as I was able to match that intensity, then that experience, that power, was something that I gained and is now within me. So that's an example of victory for me. And this is bringing a lot for me right now. I'm in Colombia, and we're experiencing a lot of violence on the streets from the military. Just this morning, I went to buy some ginger, and I had to walk. I mean, there were maybe 40 men with guns, and I had to walk through the middle. And it was almost like I was invisible. And I was remembering this, and I was thinking, wow, really, I was really matching this intensity. And some of them, it may look like they have guns and all of that, but they're so scared. And it's a volatile fear that I'm just thinking now as I'm walking the streets. What a ride to be at my birthplace right now. What a ride. But yeah, that's a question I wanted to bring up to anyone. Well, what does victory look like for you as a warrior?
Oh man, I know I've talked a lot, but I'd love to answer that one as well, or add to that, because for me, the real hero's journey, the real warrior journey for me is not about combatancy. It's about my own inner programs, self-defeating habit patterns, and all of these things that stop me from really experiencing life in a fulfilling way. And for me, that is a victory. A victory is when I make a choice, when you know, over and over and over and over again, and I still get up and do it again, you know, still get up and do it again. So there is no finish line for me, but it's just that constant getting up again, dusting myself off and just keeping at it. That's a victory. Just keep going. That's my personal opinion.
For me, it would be coming from a background of fight, 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 fight. For me, victory lies in the surrender, when I allow myself to surrender and trust my inner knowingness. That for me is a victory. Victories have gone completely away from fighting for me. There's no such thing anymore. For me, it's the opposite now.
Victory isn't winning. Victory isn't about winning, is it? It's only maybe conquering some of the problems, Matty said, but it's certainly victory for me, the same as you, Martin. It's not about winning something at all, really.
The greatest defeats can become your... Oh, sorry.
I
was going to say, you're sorry, I keep speaking over top of you, Laura. Some of your greatest defeats can be your greatest victories. It just depends on how you look at them, you know?
Yes.
Sometimes you may fail in something, but in that failure, you learned exactly what you needed to go on in with your life and to be successful in the future. So that failure was a victory. It's just how we perceive it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That reframing, I call it reframing, being able, having a capacity now to reframe everything. Not from a place of not acknowledging If there is some crap, no, I can still acknowledge that, but I will not allow it to, I'm willing to receive it, but I will not entangle with it. I can see what it is. That's when I can see something, when I have a level of awareness where I can see what it is, but I don't have to just react very emotionally as I used to. That's a big victory for me. What else you got? What is a victory for you guys?
I'll say from what you said, Martina, I just was going back to the little girl and how much she's grown and matured. And it was almost like I couldn't, like you said, I couldn't, if someone yelled at me in a store or did anything like that, I would be afraid to go back into that store or be able to talk to my sister if I had a fight with her. But now it's like I put my shield on and I'm not afraid to go back into my family's unit and I just stand there. It's almost like energetically now I'm able to just be there. And that's a victory. That's a huge victory for me, because otherwise I would run away. I would, yeah, I mean, like, it's like, no, I'm not going back to see you, but instead I kind of face it and I brush myself off and I kind of face it again, because there's something still there for me to learn. But now I can do it in another way where I can understand their energy and my energy and kind of work with it. So those are little victories for me. Yeah.
That's courage.
Big
victory. What you did, courage. That took courage.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Amy, I'm not afraid of physical violence, but when it comes to emotional things amongst my family and people that I'm not, I'm a little bitch. And so things that you're talking about right there, for me, those are my greatest victories, because I'm a real bitch when it comes to that kind of stuff. Having to face up and be in a situation where you definitely feel uncomfortable.
That's another good one. And I think Sean just said, doing something that terrifies me. That's a victory, right? Very much so, because that's that, again, going back to receiving, being willing to receive the discomfort, just like what Matty said now. There is such a victory in that, to receiving the discomfort without a point of view, because it goes so against what is being taught in this reality. We need to get out of discomfort. We don't want to be, we want to just be comfortable. Comfort often does not create. Failure, conflict, discomfort, fighting, all of that. These are energies that not necessarily only create, but they can create a lot,
It's where you grow.
It's where you grow, and it's not necessarily, I'm not talking about going back into challenge. Everything is, because that's pure polarity. No, we can create. Choice creates from a different perspective, not just from polarity. But if anything, and I think what's that saying, everything that you resist persists. Resistance is always a fabulous gift. Anything you resist takes you out of your warrior. You can't be a warrior if you resist.
Because you're resisting change, and that's change is what you're here for.
Yeah, and it throws you into chemical memory overload. All the resistance is basically chemical memory overload, and there's no ways you can stay grounded. You can't stay in the moment when you're in chemical overload.
Fight and flight,
exactly. A freeze you just freeze, like, oh. Frozen warriors.
In the headlights.
Frozen warriors.
I have a question to what was the difference between that? I had that resistance and didn't want to go back, because when I was like a teenager, I would go into the city And even like now, I would not be afraid to walk amongst the bad neighborhoods, supposedly. And it was like, I had no fear. I could do it. I could go to the train and get on the train and I'm not afraid. But then what is that difference? It's like, there was a difference. I could do that. But yet when it came to family stuff or partner stuff, anything like that, I resisted it and walked away. And I'm not dealing with this right now. I had to build that warrior. Was there two different warriors going on?
Yeah. Well, there is the rejected warrior that is coming through. You know, if every time we have a love relationship with someone, like be that now family, you know, I mean, you're going through a shanty town or something, you don't necessarily know anyone, you know, you don't really, I'm not saying you don't care, but there is a detachment, a dehumanization, right? Compared to when you have a family and a relationship, because, you know, you're connected more through the love cord, you know. And this is the big conversation we've had many times, where what does love really mean, you know, because there's such a misidentification with that. And I think this is where that comes from.
Well, it's emotional entanglement, isn't it, with your family? And as Martina said, that you know, it isn't, is it? You don't really have a point of view about the bad neighborhood. Not really. You're more polarized about your family thoughts than about the neighborhood. Yes. You're much neutral walking through the neighborhood.
Yes, I agree. I agree with that.
Strong feelings of it. You don't have strong emotions related to that neighborhood, but you've got strong emotions, most of us have, related to our loved ones.
But then why would it be if I'm walking with my sister or somebody, they're afraid to go. And I'm like, come on, we can do it. Let's go. Like, there's a difference there. And I often wondered, how come I can do this and not be afraid? So,
because they've got a more polarized view about that neighborhood than you have.
Sometimes the warrior can work against you. You know, there's times where I've been you know, in a situation, and if I'm out on the street, my natural etiquette is always gentleness. You know, it's always to be kind, to be gentle, to be accepting. And there are times where I come home and the warrior says, "What did you do that for? You should have done it this way. You know, you should have stood up for yourself more. You should have been more angry, more aggressive." You know, but that's not the way, because really I know that in that moment I acted with integrity. I acted to my greatest interest, you know, and to that of the other person. Sometimes the warrior will lead you down the dark street, you know, and sometimes the dark street's not where you're supposed to be.
And also, let me add something to this. Fear is not, there's nothing wrong with fear at times, you know. Sometimes we call it fear, and again, we have all this taintedness about fear and stuff, so we want to get out of it. But sometimes it's just an awareness. You don't necessarily go into a shanty town without, you know, being prepared for it, you know. There are places you just don't walk into. You're supposed to be scared of that. You're supposed to know. This is why I want to call everything awareness. You got to use your awareness. Is this a smart move to walk through that place now, through that dark, dingy passage or not? You know, so it's important to look at that too. So maybe they have an awareness that you don't have. So it has, just like, you know, the warrior can work against you. Oh, I'm invisible. Well, you're not necessarily. Alfredo, you got your hand up?
Yeah, well, the topic kind of changed, but it was mostly about like the receiving, because I noticed like I was definitely thinking about what you said last time. Like I was like in the wouldn't say rejective states, but like blocking myself off from receiving things. And the more I was blocking things off, like, oh, I don't want to tick with this person because their energy. I don't want to talk with that person because their energy. And like, the more I was resisting it, the more they would come at me. Like when I got more into that receiving mode, and those things came at me, and you know, like to like communicate them to whatever it was, like it just kind of like, I don't know, it was more of a natural flow instead of me like resisting the things I don't want around me, versus like just being in the receive mode, allow them to flow, whatever it is. And
Yeah.
It was like there was a massive change in my reality after that.
Absolutely.
I don't know, just not being fearful about embracing the energies around me, period.
Absolutely.
I can't be living like that. I was like, I was causing my own hell just by being in that resistive mode and not embracing the whole. Like, go ahead. You got something to say.
Yeah, no, I really agree with you there, because in my own personal life, I find that some of those resistance mechanisms, like I recently had a disagreement with my father, and I could just feel that there was something sitting in my field that wasn't good. But the idea of seeing him after we'd had this altercation and then just avoided each other for months and months and months, the idea of seeing him shit me up, you know? But then when it did happen, I was almost going to go inside because they pulled up outside the front of my house and I knew he was going to be there. And I thought, no, I'm not going to go inside. I'm just going to stand my ground and keep doing my gardening. And I did. And my heart just opened up and I said, "Are you all right, Dad?" And he said, "Yeah, you're right, mate." And then we talked as if nothing had happened. But that opened up a whole new chapter of my life. That one simple little moment. It's like, why are you going to be a bitch about this? You need to get these things out of your frequency. That is the warrior.
The warrior does not create walls around them. Tanya.
I don't know why I can't raise my hand, but it disappeared. So I'm raising this one.
Yes.
I just want to make a note. I really am enjoying this conversation, and I've been following the galactic calendar, the Mayan calendar, for a number of years now. And today is a warrior day. So today is the yellow cosmic warrior guided by universal fire. So I just think this conversation is very appropriate today. Yeah. And I just wanted to say about, courage and all of us as healers and light workers. I don't know what everyone does, but I think that in this world where half of the world is asleep, much more than that, probably 95%, that holding to who you are and what your path and your purpose is, and being able to talk to people about that. And even if there's fear or judgment, coming from all different sides, to be able to stand your ground and say, I know who I am, right? I know what my path and purpose is. And you might not understand exactly where I'm coming from, but, we can have a conversation here, right? We can work with each other, right? And find places where we do meet, where we do understand each other. So I think holding that, energetic space for friends and family and clients, I think for me, that is having that courage to just balls to the wall, be exactly who you are, right? And use the language you need to use and the concepts you need to use. I think so important. Yeah.
I would also call that honor as well, Tanya. Like a warrior's code is honor, isn't it? So you are allowing others to have their point of view too, and live their journey and live their life.
Absolutely.
Honor and respect.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask again the question. Who is the archetype for beyond the warrior? What comes beyond the warrior? And let's just simmer that, because, we've been warriors all our lives. What else can we be? And without, identifying ourselves necessarily just with that, but just as a, for me, what comes up is the co-creator. Is that an archetype? I wouldn't even say the peacemaker, no. Not the peacemaker, not the co-creator. Who does a victory journal? The victor.
Me, I do. Yeah, well, it's almost like the champion, isn't it?
The champion?
Yeah, and interesting to look at the differences between those two. But yeah, it's counting coops, isn't it? Is what you do. You have don't you, too? It's important to have victory fires.
Victory journals, yeah.
Some
It's a
victory
really cool
fires.
thing,
Yeah.
files or whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
Really cool thing
Yeah.
to do. Extremely difficult. I've started it years ago. I was like, okay, that's it. Because how much do we not acknowledge that we are already being and doing? People with lots of,
Yeah.
but I see this all the time. We just don't acknowledge what we already are. Those seekers, right? I'm one of them. Seek, 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 seek. And what's next? What's next? What's next? Never spend time enough to celebrate our victories. It's a worry.
And it's a typical end of the year thing, isn't it? You list your victories at the end of the year and you celebrate your victories at the end of the year before moving into the new year. I've been taught.
Okay. Sue, you had your hand up.
Yeah,
yeah.
Just in terms of maybe another name for a more neutral name on the archetype, I'm thinking that mastery actually comes from the soul of
Master.
It is the master. That's what I was going to say. It is.
Master, yes.
It's like where you see Bruce Lee, and you know he was able to manipulate time and space. You know, a complete dragon. And you know the thing with most of the warriors are when you become the master, then there's really no need for conflict, because you know a master. You know, a warrior may fight here, there, and everywhere. Shut the door, baby. Shut the door. But you know, there could be true warriors and masters walking around there, and they're not going to raise their hand to anybody. They know that they perfectly could at any given moment. They know that they could absolutely, you know, do whatever they please to whoever they please. But the wisdom and the mastery shows that those choices are not right. So you can be a warrior and still be a dickhead, you know?
Yeah, no, totally. And still be afraid, you know, and still be a weakling. You know?
Look at Conor McGregor. Complete dickhead, but one of the best warriors we have.
Who?
Conor McGregor, the UFC fighter.
Oh.
Awful human being. Just awful the way that they speak to each other and insult each other's, you know, lineages, complete lineages, their ancestors and everything. But yeah, is a wonderful fighter.
That's what I've written that down. You mentioned that insulting there, because part of that being respectful, I think Laura mentioned honor and respectful is part of the warrior, right? But not mocking the opponent. You're just saying that now, you know, lots of those warriors, and that is quite a legit thing, like in the boxing ring or anything, that mocking. And it's not just in the physical fighting, but it's also, look at the court system. Look at the court system when you have those lawyers come up and how they start mocking the one sitting, you know, the witnesses and things like that, just to get a reaction out of it. There's a lot of that going on, that blaming and that shaming, you know.
But that's also a part of the warrior's journey, being able to psychologically fight as well.
By getting out, this is the mastery, isn't it? Self-mastery, blame, shame, and guilt, getting out of that, right?
Martina.
Yes, Andrea, yeah.
Sorry, I wanted to mention 2 films here. They are not like big, like, so you might like it, you might not, but the point is what we're talking about here is that one is The Purge. I don't know if you have watched it. When The Purge means when one day, for one night, you can kill anyone. You're not gonna get arrested. Okay, there's a new one coming out called Forever Purge, but this purge was created back in 2013, this movie. Anyway, the whole point of it is, well, some bit of it came to mind, that they attacked this family, and then at the end, you know, they're around this mother and the 2 child, and somebody comes, and obviously they didn't kill her, and then she has a choice, and then he says, tell me, you want me to kill them, or you want, you know, stay alive. And she says, she looks at everybody and she says, we're gonna sit this night out in motherfucking peace. And she makes everybody sit out the night until it's illegal to kill everybody. So that's one movie. The other movie was, which one was it? Oh gosh, I forgot. There was another movie where again you can make a choice. Which one was it? I can't remember. But this was really, really good. This is exactly what we're talking about, that you have a choice. It's you're not gonna go to jail. What you choosing? And also, I don't know if you know that, but Ho'oponopono, they took it to the United Nations, and again, as conflict resolution, what are you gonna choose? Are you gonna blame the other person, or you're going to sit down and resolve this or sort this out? And again, it is working. It's just our choice. Okay, we're gonna choose this road, or we're gonna choose the other road. If I remember the other film, I'll let you know. I forgot it.
All right.
But this Purge is there's a new movie coming out. I think it's this week. It's called Forever Purge. So be interesting to watch that as well.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I think that's on Netflix, isn't it? Yeah. I want to, before we finish off today, I want to also look at the lone warrior. Look at the warrior, not the lonely warrior, but you being the warrior, and then look at the group of warriors. So let's look at the group dynamics, the group madness at times. How does that impact on your warrior when you are in a group? Because the dynamics are very different because of that emotional contagion, like that is going on in a group dynamic. So when you just think about it from that perspective, when you're on your own, you know how to, walk as the warrior in the shoes of the warriors. How does it change when you see yourself in a group dynamic? And not necessarily everyone in the group is a warrior. What comes up for you on this one? Does it have a significance, or, to that particular discussion, or not? Obviously not. Okay. Okay.
Or I could say something just to add to it, but like I know I come into work and there's such a bunch of fucking dudes. There's nothing but dudes, and it's just like everybody's gossiping and bickering, and like I always have to go in and like stand my ground no matter like what all this soup of energies is in around me. But it's like being able to stand my frequency amidst all this soup of energies till things like eventually change. It takes throughout the day it changes, but it's like being able to stand that ground and the soup of energies that are around me with all these conflicting viewpoints. And I don't know, to me that's the warrior. Every day is like a warrior moment for me, I feel like, because I have to constantly stand my ground amongst other people's viewpoints and other things.
There was a bit of that, what I was trying to get at, to raise that subject. It's sometimes easier to be a lone warrior when you do your own thing. And as soon as you get yourself into an environment with other warriors and other not so warriors, the situation really changes. And I think this is where it becomes really, really important to acknowledge and recognize your speciality, that unique style of fighting, that unique style, that uniqueness of your contribution, because when you start getting like into that soup and everything goes wacky around you, it's almost like, what is my unique contribution there? And almost to the extent that, am I really supposed to be here? Have I acknowledged my uniqueness enough if I still surround myself with that kind of non-tribe?
And if you're in that situation, then other people's problems become your problems. Other people's fights become your fight. Absolutely. And you instantly take on karma from other people. Really, it is a lonely journey.
Surely the whole point of mastery is that that you are able to be in a group maybe like that. I don't know quite what like that is. And the point of mastery, or maybe of being the warrior, is that you don't get triggered, is that you're you're allowing everybody to be as they are, because I don't socialize in a group of warriors. And for me, I'm just allowing everybody to on their journey, not stepping on their journey in any way. Maybe I've misinterpreted the question.
No, you've just gone to the next level. You know, you can be a warrior swimming in the soup of crap, right? And the next and maintain that, maintain a level of normality for yourself, but it takes a lot of energy, a lot of work. Okay, so the next level to that then is what Laura is talking about, to actually next step of the warrior is to step away from that, right? And embrace the lone warrior for some time until you find your tribe, or a different kind of.
I think that speaks a lot also to just standing and holding your boundaries, right? There's so many people who just take on everyone else's energy. They think it's theirs to process, theirs to work on, and it's not. And when that energy is like cleared out of that individual's body and they find that direct connection, then, you know, they're standing in that power, holding the boundaries and holding that truth, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, part of the self-mastery is that you weave in and out, or you move in and out of these groups, or doing lone work. Because unless you are, I was going to say, fortunate enough to always see your soul family or your soul tribe, as you know, you were saying, you have to live in this world, and you have to that's where you're exercising your self-mastery, isn't it? And you wouldn't be learning if you were just continually in your soul tribe either, would you? And what contribution would you be making to the world?
Absolutely.
If you were continually just in your tribe. Does that make sense?
It absolutely makes sense. And to all of that, we just add again, choice. You know, sometimes being a warrior means walking away. Sometimes means stepping right into it, because you know you are a contribution by probably not even saying anything, just by your frequency that walks into that room, you create a difference. I'm so thank you so much, Tanya, for saying this. Today is the Yellow Warrior, Allah Cosmic Warrior, Yellow Cosmic Warrior. I mean, how does it get better than that? It's such a nice synchronicity. Fantastic.
I just dropped the website 13moon.com into the chat. So this is, you can order calendars and you can, you know, follow the calendar. It's a 260-day cycle. And, you know, Andrew talks a lot about disconnecting from Roman numeral time. And this is, you know, I mean, another way to look at time, as it tracks the way the Mayans track the calendar around the galaxy. So you're welcome.
Galactic time.
Galactic time. Okay, my lovely warriors, I think that was absolutely brilliant. Are there any questions before we're going to close off? Anything pressing? Any contributions? Nope. Everybody happy to go off and enjoy the rest of the Yellow Cosmic Warrior Day? Fantastic. Then
Thank you.
On behalf of the team, I just want to say thank you.
Yeah, it was a great topic, Martin, today. Good.
And thank you, Matty, for throwing it in this morning. Now,
I've been watching boxing.
I just want to say something else. Next week, we have the lovely Sean Bibi. He's going to come on. He's done a little presentation on the DNA skin suit, which he will present to us. And again, this is a reminder, this is a platform for you guys, right? So if you want to try something out, a presentation, want to really have something to say, you know, whatever, and you want to run it by the group and play with it, like we've had other people.
Hey, give me that. Sorry.
No worries. This is your platform, so don't be shy. All right.
Thank you so
very
much, Martina.
guys.
Thank you.
Bye,
everyone.
guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
See you
Bye.
next
Thank
week.
you.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.